Bellwright has been in early access for 2 years now, and it's gotten kind of a ridiculous amount of support in that time. A second continent you sail to, a simulated trade economy, real fortifications, a full character creator overhaul, console releases. There's a lot that has changed, so if you did look at this back in 2024 and moved on, or the game has been sitting on your wishlist untouched, this is why we are talking about it now. Let me catch you up on everything, what this game is, how it works, and where the game actually landed after all this time. You begin this game with a setup that earns its keep. You see, when you were a kid, you accidentally witnessed the death of a prince and had to flee the kingdom. Your guardian kept you hidden for years until he was killed as well. And now you're back trying to figure out who sent the assassin and why. The game is not trying to be some sweeping epic, but it does give the whole thing a personal weight. This leads to you actually wanting to talk to people, do their errands, and build trust. So in short, you're not a random survivor who fell out of the sky. Now what you're doing most of the time in this game is building settlements. So drop blueprints, gather materials, start construction. And of course, similar to other games in the genre, once you get your first settlers, then they start handling a lot of the aspects themselves. So they grab what they need, craft stuff, and deliver things around the camp, and also switch to better equipment themselves. When it shows up in storage, you can set priorities and let them run, or micromanage everything, if that's your thing. The AI at this point is also mostly genuinely smart about it. This was a real problem at the beginning of the game, but now watching your camp go from 3 huts to something that actually feels like a living place, with people properly moving around doing real jobs, that's where the hours go. At the same time, you're out doing quests for nearby villages, building trust so communities will eventually let you recruit from them and liberate them from the crown. Some quests are quick, some tie into each other, and some involve characters who have actual history together. The combat here is directional, so it has swing direction, block direction, and this is all tied to your mouse or stick movement. Mount and blade is the obvious comparison. Definitely takes a bit to feel natural, but once it does, it's quite satisfying, despite the animations and all being a bit clunky. In practice, fighting more than 1 or 2 enemies at once can get messy very fast, partly because enemies can end up clipping into each other, and then their shields start blocking hits that were not even aimed at them. And successfully, actually blocking an attack doesn't stagger anyone, so an enemy can just immediately swing again. Unfortunately, this doesn't feel like the game is rewarding good play as much as punishing any mistake, so a lot of people end up learning archery, or just roll with a group of armed settlers to simply brute force with numbers. So if you're hoping for tight, satisfying one-on-one duels, this is not quite that. Okay, with that being said, let's take a look at those 2 years. At launch, the game had a foundation, but the world felt quite static. The first real turning point was the Villages 2.0 update, because from this point forward, the village prosperity started meaning something. Buildable roads came in, and actually boosted travel speed, and you also got the ability to relocate structures without losing your materials. Of course, this should have been there from the start, but at least it's here now. Late 2025 brought Maiden Voyage, which is probably the biggest single thing to happen to this game. A full second map. It's called Helmer Isles, that you literally have to sail to. New factions, choices that actually affect outcomes, its own storyline. Trade and economy came alive around the same time. Caravans, carts, routes between your settlements, and neutral villages. The villagers themselves started buying and selling based on what they actually need, not just sitting there waiting for you to interact with them. Also, walls and real defense fortifications eventually came in. Character creation got a full overhaul. At launch, it was barely anything. Now the game has hundreds of options, and the NPC visual variety across the whole world improved alongside it, and the story characters themselves got a proper makeover. The most recent update in summer 2026 went pretty hard on performance and feel. Unreal Engine 5.7 updated DLSS and FSR, and they finally addressed the micro freezes that were wrecking late game sessions. The opening hours of the story also got reworked, because the early quests were not doing a great job at introducing the world. The game also came with a planning mode, so you can lay out an entire settlement before touching a single resource. Also, the squads actually hold together over distance now, and yes, the game has full controller support too. Crossplay and self-hosted dedicated servers are both confirmed in development. A fair warning for this game. Similar to Medieval Dynasty, the early game is very slow. And I mean really slow. Your first hours consist of nothing special, mostly just going around picking up sticks. So if you bounce off it in the first session, then that's not surprising. The game does open up, and the problem is that the game opens up when the 2-hour refund window on Steam is already gone. So that is something worth considering. The game will most likely not convince you in the first few hours. So 2 years in, Bellwright kinda knows what it wants to be and doesn't want to be. And if the settlement building set of things sounds like your thing, then the game is a solid place for that. As always, it's important to go into these games with the right expectations.